The Not WeddingWire and Eventective and pretty much every other version of this, they're all the same business model. They use Google search to organically rank pages up and then have the clicks go to like the page that you're actually listed at. With the Not, you're paying to go to page 1 of the Not, and that's after being on page 1 of Google. So really you're page 2, and then that's in front of 16 other results, which is more than it's on Google in the first place. The thing is that Google search is something you could do on your own. It's not something that you have to specifically pay the Not to do. And there are several photographers, myself included, who at one point or another overranked the Not. Now, anyone who's looking at you on this page, the only decision they're making is who's the cheapest, because I'm going to tell you something. Your clients are not photographers. They don't know what the difference is between your photo and someone else's photo. A lot of times the differences that a brand makes is the photographer themselves. I'm excited to talk today about the Not and how the whole thing works, because I don't think a lot of people realize it's an advertising service, but it does some things that you could do on your own. So there's a lot of misleading advertising, I think, for them. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So I want to put a couple of disclaimers first. First being, you can still make money from the Not. So I'm not going to say, I'm not putting the Not in a specific, or WeddingWire or any of those other same sites in a positive light. But I also want to say this: you can get quality leads from the Not and WeddingWire and others. Okay, just like with anything else you do, you can get results from it as long as you put the effort into it. It's not a scam. I don't think it's a scam. I think that's kind of, that's just like an assumption from people who've already been upset. Okay, so if you take the time to perfect your system, perfect your profile, and then craft unique messages so you're not just sending prices out, you could probably get some leads from it. So it's not a complete waste of money. Okay. With all that said, I still consider this a really, really bad system. Okay, it's really inefficient. It's really expensive, and we're going to deep dive into why today. While the Not is not ideal, it's not a scam. Though I do think some of the ways that they handle their contracts are a little sketchy. Okay, it's not pleasant at the very least. You do sign a contract for 12 months, and that's not guaranteed results from them. Now, I will say, again, you get what you put into it. So there are ways that you can perfect a Not profile and get some quality leads from it. But I still think, looking at it, again, not a scam, but just not efficient. Not the thing we want to do. And so here's kind of how it actually works, right? You go to the Not, you have your listing, and you have kind of a tier, right? They have I don't know how many tiers exactly. I think it's 3. It was 3 last time I had the Not, which was years ago. But they had like some tiers. So they have basically almost like Google search results. They have a page 1, they have page 2, they have a page 3, and you pay based on the amount of money you pay kind of guarantees you a spot in any of those places. Now, the problem with that is that once you pay for a spot, you're still competing with however many spots are on there. It's not like you can say, okay, I'll pay you guys $500 and you'll give me position 1. What's going to happen is you're going to pay $500 a month, and they're going to give you a position on the first page, but you're still going to be kind of moving back and forth with it, because the Not also takes into account geography. So if I'm looking for a wedding photographer in Orlando, but I'm actually based in like Lakeland, they may not show me at the top of those results because I'm farther away from the client. So you're still paying to kind of play the same system you're paying on Google in the first place. And so here it is. The Not WeddingWire and Eventective and pretty much every other version of this, they're all the same business model. It's the exact same thing. They use Google search to organically rank pages up and then have the clicks go to like the page that you're actually listed at. So it's kind of like in search engine optimization, you're trying to rank to get on page 1 of Google because that's where most of the clicks are. Well, what you're doing now is with the Not, you're paying to go to page 1 of the Not, and that's after being on page 1 of Google. So really you're page 2, and then that's in front of 16 other results, which is more than it's on Google in the first place. So it's a really, really ineffective way of getting on Google, essentially. Like I said, they use organic SEO to rank for terms like wedding plus vendor plus city. So this could be a wedding photographer in Orlando. It could be Atlanta wedding photographer, which is, I think, the example I have kind of in this guide here. They essentially write content and try to rank for those pages to show you Orlando wedding photographers or Atlanta wedding photographers. And that's not bad, okay? But the thing is that Google search is something you could do on your own. It's not something that you have to specifically pay the knot to do. There are several photographers, myself included, who at one point or another overranked the knot. Now, you do have to kind of play the game, and you'll have to modify your results every once in a while and get yourself back up above them. But often, like when you get to page 1 and you're like position 1 of page 1, you really don't have to play that game anymore. Very rarely are you going to drop from like position 1 to position 40. Okay, you're more likely to drop from like position 1 to position 3 and then go back up to position 1 the next day. When you click on one of their articles, so let's say you typed in a city, you're going to be presented with an independent ranking system on their site. Now, I don't know exactly how the ranking system works, but they did give me a explanation on one of their pages. I'm going to show you what that looks like here as we go through it. But essentially, you're paying to be part of the knots ranking system. Okay, meaning the more you pay, the more likely you are to get shown at the front of this. Vendors are going to be shown page by page depending on how much they pay. So again, it's just like it's a scale system. So it's it's like, okay, I can afford the light package. Well, the light package is going to put you on page 3. And there's one thing that people who do SEO can tell you: nobody's clicking to page 3. You're not going to get that many leads. So essentially, the people that are at the bottom end of this scale, they are just kind of paying the knot to pay the knot. It's a nice backlink for their website, but unless they're doing SEO on their own, that doesn't really matter that much. So they have those, then they have their mid-tier. Now the mid-tier, you might get to page 2 and occasionally get shown on page 1 if you're closer geographically than any other photographer, or if there are no other photographers paying for top listing. And then they have their main term, kind of that main home page, where you're going to be page 1, but also you have no control over whether or not you're at the bottom of page 1 or closer to the top. Whereas in SEO, you can modify that a little bit, kind of depending on how much research and competitive analysis you do. So this is basically what your clients are going to see. They're going to type in for a location, all right? And so they're going to type in Atlanta wedding photographer if they're looking for a wedding photographer. I got one comment here. It says, I'm on it. It's expensive, but it works. Leads are a bit iffy, but I do my own SEO. Sup, guys? Yeah, like I said, it's not something you can't get leads from. You can absolutely get leads from the knot. It's a really inefficient way of doing it, but you can do it. So someone's going to go to Google. They're going to type in Atlanta wedding photographer, right? And then what's going to happen is this. You're going to see results that look something like this. Now, obviously, the little boxes on here, I drew those myself, and those are what we would call organic search results. And the first you'll see is the knot. They're at the 10 best Atlanta, Georgia wedding photographers. They're going to show you 10 of them there. Then you have the 10 best wedding photographers in Atlanta from WeddingWire. Notice one thing here. The knot owns both of those, or Wedding Rule or whatever it is. They have a company that owns both the knot and the WeddingWire, so that's actually the same company. And then Wedding Rule is another one that kind of shows up there. And again, even below that, Carrots and Cake, that's another version of that. However, they do have a free listing, unlike these other guys. So your client's going to be in Google. They're going to see one of these results, and they're likely going to click on it, okay? Because they're position 1. Now, again, you can bump them out of that position. It is possible to bump them out of the position. Just because they've put more time and effort into it doesn't mean you can't bump them out. It just means your page is going to have to be much, much better than theirs. And that's not actually that hard. So they're going to see this. If they click on one of them, they're then going to go to a results page from them. Okay. So here's the list. It looks like this from the knot. Now I have it highlighted here, but they literally tell you roughly how their system works. Okay. Results are sorted based on vendor details like participation in our paid advertising program, distance from your preferred location, and relevance to your search and filters. Okay. So they're still going to be able to filter you throughout here, but as soon as you come on here, you have kind of 3 rows of people, and this goes up. I think there's 6 rows underneath here in total, and then you have these 4 on the side. Now this 4 on the side, that's an additional form of payment. Okay, so your most expensive payments are going to be the one that comes up immediately. Okay, and you notice there's a few problems here. One is that you are now competing with a full number. It's 10,000. It's 1,088 other wedding photographers. The second thing is that on the knot specifically, you got nothing else to convince someone to click except for this one thing. You can show your business name, you can show your price, and you can show a little bit of authority with like if you won like a best of weddings thing. Now, while I'll say that's not the worst I've seen for a listing, it's pretty bad because now anyone who's looking at you on this page, the only decision they're making is who's the cheapest, because I'm going to tell you something, your clients are not photographers. They don't know what the difference is between your photo and someone else's photo. A lot of times the differences that a brand makes is the photographer themselves. It could be the way that your copy's written, and it could be the way that you handle certain problems that they're worried about. That's really where you start selling your brand, and that's how you can start billing like $10,000 per wedding. But when you do it this way, You're just a commodity. This is like me going to the gas station and going, okay, well, what's this Red Bull versus this Red Bull? I don't know. They're both $2. I don't really care. I like the yellow can better. That's really what your clients are doing when you're looking at this. So you're really not getting any sort of like solid comparison analysis here as a client's coming in. You just went to Google, you got to this page. Now, if we look at this conversely with our own websites, if we're ranking on page 1 on Google, someone clicks to your page instead of the not, well, you've already kind of sold them a little bit, and now your copy can sell you even more, and they're not going to that page to compare you to every other person that's on there. But it's essentially the exact same system. You're just paying the not to do your SEO. And then even having even less control over what wins, because what if they come up with a new tier in the next year, and that new tier is 3 times the amount you're paying right now? You've got no control as to whether or not they're going to put people in front of you. They can do whatever they want at any point in time. I know they have a contract, but trust me, that contract is in their favor. Okay. So we're going to do this for WeddingWire as well, but here's the problems that I see. Potential clients immediately are going to price compare you. That's just what they're going to do because there's no other information to give them. They can see your image, and that's fine. I'm going to tell you something. This is going to hurt all your feelings. You're not that special. Okay, as a photographer, I'm sorry. Look, we all shoot amazing things. Scott in here, Scott's an amazing photographer. He does things with lighting that I don't even do. I do things with maybe framing that other people don't do. There are so many good photographers available that you really don't want to be only competing on your photography in general, okay? Hey, thanks for watching. Look, if you could do us a favor and leave a like, a comment, or just subscribe to us, it would help other people find these videos, and if it's helping you, it's going to help them too. Thanks. For most of your clients that go to this page, potential clients, there's no reason for them to go to page 2. They have 16 options to choose from on page 1, and then they can narrow those down further. So there's really no reason for them to go to page 2. They're not clicking there. So if you're someone who can't afford the top listing on the Knot, you probably shouldn't bother going on the Knot. If you're not going to spend the amount of money they're asking to get on page 1, there is no purpose to that. Okay? You have no space to entice the click. Again, there's no brand sell here. There's no messaging here. There's nothing here. It's just your name, a photo, and price, and then maybe a little bit of authority, and that's it. It's click to inquire. And here's the deal too, right? When we're on this page, they don't have to reach out to you alone. There's other options. So while they're on that page, they can send the same message to 5 other photographers, and then it's like whoever reaches out faster gets the inquiry, or whoever has a better message. Again, that's not how we want to be doing business. We want more control. We want our own websites. The way that we're currently doing this on the Knot here is we're like apples to apples comparison, right? We don't want that. And so on the Knot, we have the same issue. Okay, it's going to show me I have 916 other photographers I'm competing with. Now they do have one benefit here. There's not a little sidebar that's going to grab your attention. It's not there. There's not another section for advertising, at least on this particular results page, okay? So Atlanta wedding photography, the same thing you would have searched on Google to come to this result. The most expensive placements are going to be these first results shown. Again, I'm not necessarily, because all the information is going to be roughly the same, I'm not going to scroll all the way to page 2. So if you're spending money on page 2, you need to get out of that contract very soon. But here's some benefits with WeddingWire versus the Knot, okay? I do have a chance to show my authority here. I can kind of customize this message. So looking at this one, it says like Rivet Events provides photography services to soon-to-be newlyweds in the Atlanta, Georgia area dedicated to providing exceptional service. The team works collaboratively with couples. So there's a whole like another layer of sales here that's happening. Like you can write your own paragraph. Now, if I'm being honest, I know this guy's page 1. This doesn't pull on my heartstrings at all. This isn't bringing me emotionally into the photo. It's not into the photography realm. It's not reminding me of why I'm looking for photography in the first place. It's just kind of like if there was a cab service, okay? It's basically just a service level business advertisement. But you could take the time, write something really well, and get more clicks from that. You just have to learn what makes clicks happen. Now, the other thing here, unlike on Google search, I can only put my business name at the top here. I can't put something like Orlando wedding photographer for laid back couples, which is what my current website says. I can't play around with, the title to get more clicks. There are 3 things essentially that are going to get you clicks. Okay. This is the same for Google search results. It's going to be the same for here. It's the image that you have attached to it. It's the header, which is where, like in this case, it says Rivet Events. And then it's the body copy there. That body copy is really important because that is your differentiator. Like if I'm looking at these two between Rivet Events and Mike Moon Studio, these are both really good photos. I would be perfectly happy with either one, but now I have to price compare. Okay, so I'm looking down, I can see that Rivet Events is at $1,600 versus Mike Moon Studio, which is at almost $2,500. Why would I click on Mike Moon Events or Mike Moon Studio versus Rivet Events? It's that paragraph. That's really the only thing that's the differentiating factor here. Or I might be someone who looks at reviews and sees, okay, well, Rivet Events only has 80, reviews, but Mike Moon Studios spent a whole bunch of time getting their clients to go here, and he has 120. Now, here's something cool about Google search results instead of this. You only have to send your clients to one space, Google reviews. Once it's in there, that applies across multiple platforms. You can import them into your website. You can have them linked to a map pack thing, which gives you another option to show up in front of people. And again, when your home page is ranking for this kind of thing, or a page or a blog on your website, it's ranking for this kind of thing. It's going to your website. You're in charge of where they go next. It's a big difference. The difference here is that the couple that really did spend the time looking through your website has went through a whole process. Maybe they went to your home page, then they went and read through your experience page, then they saw your portfolio, then they reached out to you. There's a pathway, and the cool thing is you're in charge of it. So this is why I don't like how this works, because essentially we're just competing to go on Google to compete on Google again anyway. Okay? With WeddingWire, potential clients immediately price compare. Again, we saw 1,600 versus 2,500, less results on one page, making it more expensive. So again, like I said, if you're not on page one of these services, you're basically wasting your money. With that being said, I'm pretty sure that WeddingWire only showed me 10 results. Might have been a little bit more than that, but it was only 10 results. So if you're not in the first top 10, what are you doing? You're just burning your money away. And since the Knot owns WeddingWire, they're probably going to do the exact same thing, which is where they use location as well. So you're automatically going to be ranked out of that. Okay? Request pricing instead of learn more is a little salesy. So like on the button as well, we talked a little bit about how like the header makes clicks happen, the image makes clicks happen, and the meta description, which is like the description that was on the last page, makes clicks happen. But the button also matters. And when I say request pricing, it seems final. We don't want it to seem final. We want to continue selling them because we want to make sure that we're giving them enough value for them to want to reach out to us. Request pricing is like kind of going on a first date and immediately saying, so you want to go back to my place? Because like that'd be fun. No, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to actually spend some time, get to know the person, whatever. Then maybe date 1, date 2, date 3, whatever, you get to go back to your place. But in this case, we're immediately saying, no, why don't you just come back to my place? It's perfect. We don't want that. It's a salesy button. And you have no control over it. It's not your website, okay? So what if you wanted to book more engagements? This is an interesting thing because the Knot doesn't do SEO research for everything. Let's say you wanted to book more engagements. And by the way, if you guys are in this process where you're giving away every engagement session you shoot, stop it. You can sell it as a separate service. I can't tell you how many times I've booked a couple that didn't live in my area, but also wanted to do a session, right? And so, I might get $1,200, $1,800 for an engagement session that you guys would all be missing out on because you're trying just to get the wedding bookings. And here's what happens when you type in Atlanta engagement photographer. Guess what? There's no Knot. There's no WeddingWire. There's nothing. So you're paying them to compete on Google to do the SEO research. But the thing is, they're only giving you one option. With SEO, I could write content that would rank for hundreds of different categories. But with the Knot, when I pay for it, I only get one option. I really only get the weddings, or maybe I might get elopements if I'm paying for it, or I might get another listing and pay for an additional location, and that might get me leads from there. But I'm continuously having to go up this ladder. And again, we only want to pay for page one results. If I'm not paying for page one results, I'm not going to get those results. And so looking on Google here, and by the way, here's a cool thing about Google. Most people skip over the ads. Almost all of them. They see the ad thing there, they skip over it. Now that doesn't mean they don't work, but most people will click over those. So these results here, these are the organic non-paid results here. And you see 9 best engagement photographers in Atlanta. That's from Peerspace. Peerspace does not offer, that's not like a WeddingWire thing. That's like it's more like almost like a venue rental service. You can rent that place for sessions for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. It's really cool if you haven't been on their website. We used to use it for commercial photography all the time. Then you have an actual photographer's website. Then you have Thumbtack. Thumbtack is like an even worse version of the Knot. That one, I'll say just outright, that one is basically a scam. Michelle Scott Photo is the next one that we see there. And then there's another photographer underneath that. Those are real photographers. So this is another option of targeting to get more traffic. And listen, people look for engagement photographers in their areas, especially if you're in a big city like Atlanta or Chicago or Fort Lauderdale, I guess, or Miami, or like any of these places. People are looking for those services and you're just not getting in front of them. I got one comment here that says, oh my God, stop making it complimentary. We're talking about engagement sessions as well. That literally makes engagement sessions worthless to the couple. It needs to have a real financial value. Yes. Yes, it does. Someone then said Zola is the wedding form of Thumbtack too. Yeah, so I would say Zola is very similar. However, you can get them to write an article about you without actually having to pay for their service. You can just get a feature from them. So what my point here is that when we're on the Knot or WeddingWire or whatever it is, you're paying for them to do SEO research. Then they're only doing a quarter of the job you could do yourself. Now, I don't want to like cherry pick this. Like, doing SEO stuff is not easy. It's not necessarily cheap, and it does take some time. But if you make it like the thing you're focusing on, it produces tons and tons more results than the Knot or WeddingWire ever will. We'll go through how many leads I got from Google alone last year, 2022, by the way. But here's the biggest red flag. Okay, a featured listing can cost between $4,000 and $14,000 for the year. Okay. Now, this isn't going to be true everywhere, and there are going to be some locations that are less saturated that are going to get significantly less cost in this because they just can't afford to get it. Okay. That doesn't necessarily mean it's worth more. It just means that there are some locations where you can pick up a listing for fairly cheap. Okay. Each listing is for one market or area. So that means if you spend $4,000 in a year with them, you need to do it twice in order to get 2 areas. Okay. You have to choose the highest package to get clicks, and you still might be at the bottom because geographic location is taken into account. There's a lot of red flags here. And like I said, very expensive. Okay. If you stop paying the Knot, they're going to stop recommending you, which means you've undone all your work. However, with something like SEO or creating good content on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or wherever you want to create content for, you can continuously keep that up. As long as the content's good. Content is king for those places. Content's not king for WeddingWire or the Knot. It's pay to play. Okay? So, here's some red flags. That platform is per area per platform. That number is per area per platform. So, again, if I want to, let's say I want to do Chicago and I want to do suburbs of Chicago as well. Well, each individual suburb might cost me an additional $4,000 if that's the starting price. And I did use a Chicago photographer as an example in the math that we're about to go into here. And it is roughly around $4,000, a little over it actually. But like I said, if I want to do multiple locations, guess what? That number goes up and it goes up and it goes up. And we're not saying this is the most efficient way of getting leads. So you might be spending significantly more on the leads that you're going to get than what you would get if you actually put some effort into your website to begin with, right? So clients use several basic messages to reach out to several vendors. So they have a little script when they go onto their site. When you're on site of, when you're in like WeddingWire or the Knot, they have a little script that you're going to get sent. It doesn't give you any information that you would need. As a matter of fact, another good example of this, Wedding Chicks. When I get like a lead from Wedding Chicks, let me tell you something. All it says is we're having a black and white theme. And I'm like, great. I don't know what to do with that because I'm a photographer and I don't care what decorations you have. Okay. It's a very, very basic message. It doesn't help me answer anything. So it's hard for me to create a custom response to them. And the more custom your response is, the more likely you are to get a response. Okay. The user flow, what they do on the website when they get to your profile is decided by the Knot. So if the Knot sees, hey, you know what, we could put another ad up for another photographer here, and I've seen it happen, guess what? They fit one in, it goes to the other photographer. That other photographer who's probably paying more than you gets the lead. And here's the deal. Like I said, I don't think it's a scam, but you will get some fake leads. They're not all going to be the same. They're not all equal. Okay. Those fake leads are problematic and they're annoying, and you're going to get a lot more ghosting on this platform than you would on any other platform you work with. But like I said, you get what you put into it. So if you put a ton of effort into it, you make sure your messages are super unique. You can get some clients from there. And also, a lot of times we find that the clients that come to our website, if you're listed on the Knot, often came from the Knot originally. So there is that option, but that's a really clunky user flow. Think about it. They're going to type in like Atlanta wedding photographer. They're going to go through all the profiles, click on your profile, then click on your website, then go through your user flow, which could be like homepage, then experience, then portfolio, and then finally reach out to you. That's like 7 steps. Now that's a hot lead once you get to it because they took 7 steps to even reach out to you. But the likelihood of everyone that's visiting your website doing that, very low. It's very, very low. The more steps you have to get in touch with you, the fewer people are actually going to get in touch with you. It gets exhausting. They get distracted. People are kind of like squirrels. Okay, we see things and we go, okay, well, I'm going to go do this for a second. Then, oh, look at that over there. And then all of a sudden we're gone. We're in shiny object land. Okay. Here's a full cost / time breakdown because I want to show you how much time it's going to take you to do all this. All right. So I talked to 2 friends who are on the Knot in Chicago, and I got some numbers from them. Okay. So these numbers are not made up. I'm not just completely coming up off the top of my head. Here's what it is. Okay. A single location in Chicago is $360 a month. $360 a month times 12 months is $4,320. Like I said, starting price of $4,000. Now, some locations you can negotiate. Some locations you can even get cheaper. Not all locations. Not somewhere like Chicago. Not somewhere like Miami even. Okay, there's going to be a harder place to negotiate here. 2 locations ends up being $720. Then the last of it ends up being, and then that year price goes up to $8,600. Okay, 3 locations. Now we're at $1,080 a month, which is a fairly big investment at $12,960 per year. So, assuming that they do not make any sort of changes, here's your 4-year cost. 1 location is going to be $17,280. 2 locations over 4 years is $34,560. And 3 locations over 4 years is $51,840. Now, the reason I'm giving you these math is because I'm going to show you what the example would be if you just did SEO or you did some content generation or you really worked on your business in general on things where you have more control. I'm not saying you can't make your money back. It's still a bad investment, all right? Some people go to the casino and still make their money back. Doesn't mean you're the average or or it's going to continuously happen. Okay? And so here's the alternative. We're going to use my website for an example here. Those sites, I just want you to know, again, they use SEO to get clicks. You can do that too. Okay? They do also have paid advertising. You can also do that too. Matter of fact, the money you save by not being on the Knot, you can put into Google ads or you can put into YouTube ads, you can put into Facebook ads and get your money back that way. There are alternate ways to use that money, and I'm telling you, you're going to 10x your return. As long as you put the effort and time in to learn the system. Okay? So, my website, worldlyphotographer.com. Those of you who haven't been there, go ahead and check it out. I create content that covers multiple areas. Now, it doesn't cost me a thing to create multiple areas. Now, we're not just talking about like multiple cities. I do full states. So I have multiple areas in the state of Florida, parts of Arizona. We just got a lead, actually, I think it was Monday, for Flagstaff and Northwest Indiana. Okay, that's where I'm from originally. I'm now in Orlando, Florida. In 2022, I received 355 leads. Now, those of you who have been here for a while know I only shoot 10 weddings a year. Like, I do not need to shoot more of those. So that's a lot of extra leads. There's no way I'm not making my money back from there. 70% of those leads came from Google search. It's 248 leads. So in 1 year from Google search, I got 248 leads. Now, those of you who are saying, I'm on the Knot and it's doing just fine, tell me if you're getting that many leads from the Knot. That's all I want to know. Are you getting that number of leads? Because if you're not, that means there probably is a better way of doing this. And again, I'm not even saying you have to do SEO to do this. You can do it through networking. That's where the other 30% of those leads come from. You can do it through multiple different ways of doing it. Okay, so to create content on my own without templates, okay? This is before we had our content system or before really I learned how to write blogs effectively, okay? Took me about 4 hours average per blog. Now it's doing research, doing keywords, doing structure stuff, testing stuff out. It's about 172 hours over 2 years for 43 blogs, okay? I don't even write a blog a month, by the way, guys. I just want you to throw this out here. And it's not like I just shot at this location blog. When I write a blog, it's a tactical, strategic blog. It's designed to answer questions that they would have had on Google. It's not to show off my work. So 43 blogs times 4 hours ends up being 172 hours over 2 years. That's not an insignificant amount of times. This is about a month and a half of work, give or take, right? So in a month and a half of work over 2 years, I got 350 plus leads. Okay, so let's talk about this. What can I target for? Again, on the Knot, what are we limited to? We're limited to city wedding photographer or city elopement photographer or state local, elopement photographer, whatever it happens to be where you're at. But when I write content on my own, I can get wedding venues traffic, which is where I can give personal advice for my favorite wedding venues to get people to come in and inquire there. I can do city engagement locations so I can get more engagement sessions like we talked about. I'm not just giving away those things. And then I have city proposal ideas. I have someone asking me right now, what example of blogs would you write that is strategic? Well, these right here. I would write proposal ideas, engagement locations, wedding top 10s, or wedding venue top 10s, and then even like specific ones about specific venues. Or there are also ways to write content about things that you want to do. So for example, for me, one we've been working on for a while is a Bahamas blog. So we've been creating a bunch of content around working in the Bahamas because I want to go work in the Bahamas. We also have one around styling your wedding after Peaky Blinders. So I've been kind of doing research on that one over time. Now, again, it's not a really big priority. It's one I'm just doing over time, but that allows you to do sessions that you've always wanted to do. So like helicopter elopements, if you want to write logistically how to do that and show off some images of helicopters and maybe some couples, you can probably get a lead from that. Is it going to have crazy traffic come in your website? No, not necessarily. But here's the cool thing. Any traffic you send to your website, it's traffic you created. It's traffic you own. You get to decide where they're going to go afterwards. This is your strategic advantage. You can target all the things that they don't, and you can even outrank them. You can jump ahead of the line. So whoever's paying, the $4,000 a year to get on page one of the Knot, you can outrank them on Google, the page that they're ranking for in the first place, and get most of those clicks. It's a strategic advantage. Now, here's the deal. To do this, you have to be thinking long-term. You can't have a short-term game. Locations don't increase. You don't have to pay more money to go to rank in different places. I have content ranking in Las Vegas right now. I do not live in Las Vegas. I live in Orlando, Florida. That is like 3,000 miles away, I think, give or take. I'm not going to do the math on that. I'm not going to check my geography. But the thing is, it's far enough away to where like I'm not based in that location. I don't have local authority in that location. But I've been there a few times and I had some photos and I just wrote some content around it. I get leads from it a couple times a year. Okay? Doesn't mean I'm getting leads constantly from it. It's not like my big lead source. But if I want to go do a wedding in Las Vegas, I can go do one. By the way, whenever I do a wedding in Las Vegas, I don't lower my prices. I don't not charge travel. They still pay the exact same amount everyone else does. Now, typically, those are going to end up being more elopements. So they're right around my starting price, which is $5,000 for 6 hours. But I still get some of those clients who are paying $10,000 plus. Clients who find your website just see you when they click. So like if you're ranking on Google and they click on it, and they go to your website, there's nobody else to compare you to. Now we're not doing apples and apples. Now we're just hanging out on your site. So your copy then has to do the lifting here versus the not doing all the lifting to get somebody to go to your site. You have more control. Okay? So let's do a cost comparison. All right? So SEO, all right? Average booking. We're just going to say on average, this photographer that I've made up in my head, they're booking $3,000 weddings. That's a very easy number to hit. So it's $6,000 to be honest with you. But if they're going to do 20 weddings a year, they're going to make $60,000. They're going to spend $7,250 on the first year for doing SEO. Now this depends on where you get the course from. I paid, I think for my courses, I took like 3 of them when I originally did SEO. $6,800 was one of them. $1,000 for another one, and then I think another one for like $50. But that one I just kind of listened to while I was cutting grass. So this is just a guesstimated cost. All right. 90 hours of content creation. Now I'm going to say you're going to pay $25 per hour for that. You should be accounting for this inside of your business. When you're doing content creation, it's like office hours. Medium salary for office hours is pretty like $25 an hour is not too bad for that. Okay. So that's kind of how that math works there. So $7,250. Now, year 2, I'm still going to write the same amount of content. I'm still kind of building things up, but I'm only doing 90 hours. If you guys are paying attention, this is about 2 weeks of worth of work. Okay. But my cost goes down because I don't have to learn more SEO from this. I can just watch YouTube and now I understand what those terms mean. Or I can just come into these lives and learn things kind of as we go. So my cost becomes $34.50. Okay. 90 hours of content, 48 hours of maintenance. Now, why do I say maintenance? You have to go back for about 4 hours a month and check your rankings and see what's going on and see if you can't update some things or maybe make improvements or check the click-through rate on some articles versus others and see what you can't maximize on. Now, what's cool about that is those 4 hours, they can result in a 20% increase in leads or conversions or traffic. It all kind of depends on what you want to do. Year 3, you're just doing the maintenance. You don't really have to continually write stuff unless you really want to. Year 3 is $1,200. Now, for me, I've gotten to the point where I just enjoy writing content. I enjoy creating content. And so I kind of do it for fun. Or like when I'm watching Netflix, like I'll create something or I'll test something out for my students in my Manifest program. Okay, so over 3 years, you would have spent $11,900. Now, let's look at the Knot. Okay. And by the way, during those 3 years, you're booking weddings, elopements, engagements, proposals. There's different streams of income coming from this, right? Now, in the Knot, remember, we're just going for that one thing. We're going for city wedding photographer. So the average booking here is still the same, still doing 20 weddings, okay, over 3 years. We're not raising our prices at all in this particular case because that was too hard to figure out math-wise. Year 1, you're at $7,250, okay? That's for 3 locations. We have to do a fair comparison. In SEO, you're not limited by location, so I'm going to say each location here, we're going for 3. So it could be a city near you, it could be the full state, and then it could be like a dream location or something. Or in my case, it could be like Tampa, Orlando, and Miami. Now, to have a listing in those 3 locations, I'm going to pay $7,250. And then the next year, to have a listing in those 3 locations, I'm going to pay $7,250. To have a location in that third year, $7,250. I'm going to spend $21,750 to have those listings over those 3 years. You can make your money back from that. I'm not saying you won't. Okay, you're still profiting at this point. You're still profiting. but you're mostly booking weddings. You might be booking elopements. And because you're on that comparison page, that first page of the knot or whatever, you have to give away some stuff to entice people. So you might have to do some sort of promotion where you're giving away engagements. You might have to do some sort of like, oh, we'll pay for your wedding planner, or your engagement session includes an entire makeup team. And you're still competing on price, so you can't really afford to add those things in. But you have no choice because everyone's going to the same page and looking at you versus 16 other photographers. See, this is the problem. It's like you're paying more to do less. And that's really why I don't like the knot. It really doesn't have anything to do with them being a scam or them being hard to get out of a contract. I'm going to tell you something. You know who else is hard to get out of a contract? Anyone that signed a contract with me that is a client and went and looked through what was required of them. As long as they understood the contract at signing, yeah, I'm not going to necessarily just be like, okay, well, the contract doesn't mean anything. I made that up. No, I'm going to stick with my contract. So that's what they're doing with it. But if you're really not seeing results, there are ways to get out of that contract. You can still make money. But here's the cost comparison. Okay. In either option, you still have to learn how to raise your prices, sell albums, create workflows, and consistently find your ideal client. Okay. Here's a cool thing. Okay. I gave you guys a price. I told you that the SEO course that I tested in here was $5,000. Here's the deal. Okay. I've got an option for you. It's called Manifest. Now, we don't just teach SEO inside of Manifest. SEO is a big part of Manifest. It is $5,000. Here's the deal. 9 photographers get in. There's 9 modules. There's 9 small group coaching calls, lifetime access to the course material. Plus, every single month, we do a different kind of workshop. So we just did our blogging workshop, which is the course that we're going to talk about next here in a second. That's totally free for anyone who takes my Manifest course. You get a back-end access. You get a course community. But you also learn all the things we talked about. We learn SEO. We learn how to do sales. We learn how to sell albums. We learn how to price things out. We know sales conversations. There are 9 weeks of this stuff. It's hard. I'll be honest with you. This is a lot of work, but it's worthy. So if you guys want more information on Manifest, because you don't want to pay the knot $21,000, you'd rather pay us $5,000 and then help you get past the knot, just type Manifest in the comments and I'll reach out. The 9-week small group mentorship program, it's Manifest. It goes over your ideal client, networking, SEO, value-based pricing, low-pressure sales, solving objections, which is where someone comes and says, well, this other photographer's cheaper. And then you have some sort of response to that. There's a way to convince them, right? Then you have workflows and delegation. Listen, I am a big fan of delegation. I love it, okay? Ask Tyler. He does half the stuff I don't want to do. Then you have album sales. Then you have what I call value-focused content, which is lead gen, which is a little bit of blogging. It's also taking blogs and turning them into posts for TikTok or posts for Facebook bridal groups so you can stand out there. It's a lot of stuff. Plus live workshops, lifetime access, and every single month we do a website audit for anyone who signs up live inside the community, and you get all access to those, okay? Plus the private community, which is other photographers who are also trying to learn, all right? And then finally, at the end of this, like I said, if you're interested in Manifest, just type Manifest in the comments. We also have strategic blogging. Now, here's the workshop that we just did. It is a 4-part workshop that tells you what to write, like do keyword research, how to find what to write about, how to write it so you become a better writer, you understand structures and copywriting workflows, and then how to maximize your results with it, looking at performance and maybe checking some things a few months later down. It's just a blogging course. It is literally just like if you've ever taken a video course before, it's going to be very similar. There are recorded Q&As from people who took the course live. You get all access to those. You get templates for your blogs, everything else there. That's going to be starting at $500. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and type blogging in the comments and I'll give you information on that. Here's the cool part. If you're interested in Manifest and this is already part of Manifest. You get it for free. Any sort of workshop that we do, you get for free, automatically, lifetime access. So with that said, I hope I've kind of cleared up your questions about the knot and why it's not a great place to spend your money and why you might be able to get better leads other places. Again, not a scam, but there are better ways to do it. Hey, if you're a wedding photographer and you like the resources that we talked about in this live, do me a favor, go in the link in the description and join our free group for wedding photographers, or just subscribe to this channel and see more content like this on the regular. Thanks so much.